I usually make a very huge effort not to do any video on this channel, any recording, emotionally, or when I have a lot of emotions running through me. But this one is going to be a very difficult one for me. Earlier today, during this Wednesday maandamano protests against the government, the Kenya police entered a primary school in Kangemi, a Mabati primary school, poverty-stricken children, and lobbed tear gas inside the classroom. Oh boy. Now we need to remind ourselves that when tear gas is released in an enclosed place with limited ventilation, like a classroom, the result will almost always be fatal. And remember, these were children, not even grown-ups, primary school children. And maybe I also need to say that anybody who understands police operations will tell you that it is not normal for police officers to go to a primary school and do what they did, or to do anything. Okay? Police officers operate on orders. They operate on instructions. They operate on briefings. Okay? And I think it should be very clear that this Kangemi incident illustrates, tells us very clearly what the government strategy is to deal with the maandamano. Okay? That is, of course, apart from very spirited efforts to introduce a bill in parliament, to change certain aspects in our laws, which at the end of the day will make demonstrations very difficult to hold within the new law, their law, the UDA law. The message from the Kenya Kwanza UDA illegitimate government should be very clear. They are very desperate to end maandamano as quickly as possible. And their strategy is to cause chaos so that there's a very good excuse to stop the maandamano, to clamp down on them, and also to pass the new law that I'm told is at a very advanced stage of being tabled and quickly passed in our parliament, although it's not really our parliament. I'm sure you know what I mean. It is very clear that the strategy today was to create a situation which would give the government an excuse to do a number of things, including arresting Raila Amolo Odinga. Because as terrible things were happening to our children in Kangemi, Kenya Kwanza MPs were holding a press conference where they were calling for the arrest of Raila Odinga. And legislator Didmas Baraza even went ahead and said that they're giving the police 48 hours to carry out this arrest of Raila. And if not, they will get their supporters to do a citizen's arrest. And even if they're going to use a motorbike to get Raila to the nearest police station, they should do so. And he added a kicker: they should also use a little force. Now let's try and get away from the emotions and step back and analyze this. This is a clear illustration of politicians in government, politicians close to the government, and the government which has completely lost touch with the reality. And it has lost touch with the people they are supposed to lead, the people they are supposed to look after. Because a leader is first and foremost a shepherd, who is supposed to look after their flock. In this case, the Kenyan people. Because you see, with these ideas of Kenya Kwanza government of ending the maandamano as soon as possible, like yesterday, the situation on the ground is very delicate. And indeed, many people have said we are sitting on a time bomb for a very simple reason. Kenyans are suffering. Kenyans are getting huge challenges putting food on the table, even as the government forces through punitive taxes to take away even more money from their pockets. And the huge danger here that they're not seeing is that you don't fool around with hungry citizens. You don't. It is deadly. And so, all things remaining the same, it is very predictable what is going to happen next. Soon. Sooner than anybody thinks. And you know, in this Kenya Kwanza press conference, with Didmas Baraza as the star, they were laughing as Baraza was describing the citizen's arrest of Raila using a motorbike, and of course using a little force, as he put it. They were laughing loudly, which in my opinion is provocation. It is a clear sign that these so-called leaders have no idea what Kenyans are going through. They are focusing on the wrong things, instead of focusing on addressing this ticking time bomb, this very urgent problem that they should address of dealing with the cost of living and ensuring that at least Kenyans, ordinary Kenyans, millions of them, at least get some breather from the current hard times they're facing, which is not very hard for a government to do, because for starters, they can shelve the Finance Bill 2023. You know, anybody who doubts what the government strategy was today really needs to rethink their position, because it was so clear. The pattern right across the country was so very clear what this government wants to do to end maandamano once and for all. Because, for instance, there were serious problems in Ukambani, Emali, a small sleepy town just after Sultanahmud, not very far from Titwande on the Nairobi-Mombasa highway, where one protester lost their lives to risasi kutoka polisi. Indeed, right across the country, over 6 precious lives were lost. Yeah, in more or less the same way. Police brutality. And this was what forced the Azimio leader Raila Odinga to call off the planned rally, which was scheduled to take place at the Kamkunji grounds. In an address to the nation, Raila said, to protect Kenyans from the brutality of the police, he had decided, or rather Azimio had decided, to call off the Kamkunji rally. Raila also told us that Azimio people trying to set up the equipment for that particular rally were attacked and the equipment was vandalized. Very clear message from a desperate, cornered regime, yeah, responding the only way they know how. Okay, folks, it is just a matter of time. I believe the writing is on the wall now, much clearer than it has ever been. Because when you lose track with reality, when you have no idea what your citizens are going through, and all you're doing is trying to force through your way, yeah, what will enable you to stay in power, what will enable you to stop the maandamano, then you've definitely lost the plot. And it is just a matter of time. You know, I find it super fascinating when you look at the two sides of the political divide. I find it mind-blowing that one side is disjointed, has no idea what they are doing, yeah, while the other side is super organized. Indeed, I heard somebody saying today that Kenya has 2 governments, but the majority of Kenyans recognize the government which is not yet legal. I'm sure you've gotten immediately what that person was talking about. Because as the government continues with these tactics, other things are happening very quickly, which will catch up with them very soon. Yeah, the human rights issues, made worse today by that Kangemi primary school incident. Then there's a collection of the signatures, 10 million signatures, which is still ongoing as the government focuses in the wrong place. As the government focuses on arresting Raila Odinga, things are happening. As mere things are moving forward. And all these things will converge and completely corner the regime of William Samoei Ruto very shortly. Yeah, that's what I mean when I say one side of the political divide has no idea, while the other one is moving like a well-oiled, efficient machine. That's really what it is. But of course, as all these things are happening, Kenyans are continuing to suffer. As all this is happening, precious lives continue to be lost. That is the sad thing. And now we have even brought primary school kids into the equation. Oh boy. You know, as an adult, during Moi's reign of terror in the 90s, and I can tell you, not from reading from history books, but from being there, that even Moi's terror did not reach the heights at which the Kenya Kwanza government is headed very rapidly towards. For instance, in Meru, Martha Karua, Peter Munya, and Jeremiah Kioni were headed to this hotel in that town in Meru to hold a press conference. The police blocked them. Why? Why should they be blocked from going to hold a press conference? Not even a rally. Not even a town hall meeting. And things got so tight that Martha Karua and company had to get out of the place where they had been blocked on motorbikes, borders. What is this country coming to? Now I'll do a more comprehensive analysis early tomorrow, because the whole horror story is still unraveling. Information on what really took place today, the 12th of July 2023, as Kenyans tried to protest peacefully against the dictatorial government of Kenya Kwanza, all that information is still trickling in. And of course, I'm still in the process of putting it all together, and coming up with a more detailed video. But I was hoping that at least you could hold on to this one as I continue to do that. Bottom line, we don't have a government in Kenya. I think Rigathi Gachagua was right. It's a limited company which has taken power, belonging to a few people, benefiting only a few people. He was right, and he told us, and we made noise, but he was absolutely 100% correct. Just look at what is happening. Look at where we are as a country today. Now, a very quick one before I leave. Remember to take advantage of my offer. We're just counting down the last few hours. Make sure you rush and don't miss this amazing offer, which will end at midnight, 12th July 2023, which is just a few hours away. Until next time, this is Kshs, Kumekucha.